Hey everyone, welcome back to Brian's Mysteries and Adventures on Trail. I know I don't ever really ask this, but if you haven't subscribed to the channel, it would mean a lot to me and it would really help my efforts in trying to help SAR. I'll go over at the end of the year all the stuff that I donate every year to different organizations. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about the disappearance of Amy Bechtel. This case happened a long time ago, July 24th, 1997 to be exact. This case takes us to a place called Lander, Wyoming. Unfortunately, due to the age of the case, some of the places that we're going to be discussing are no longer there. However, I'm going to give you maps. These are various pictures of the area. On the morning of July 24th of 1997, Amy told her husband, Steve, she was planning on doing various errands after what she normally did, which was teaching a weightlifting class at a place called the Wind River Fitness Center. I looked it up. I don't believe it's any longer in business. It's a new place now. She then called from a place called Camera Connection Photo at around 2:30 p.m. after teaching her class, stopped by a store called Gallery 331. She spoke with the owner at the time, a man by the name of Greg Warner. This was the last confirmed sighting of Amy. Amy was only 24 years old at the time. She had been married about a year. She was roughly 5'4", about 110 pounds. She was an extreme runner. She loved running. This day, after leaving this photo stop, she drove to Shoshone National Forest to sort of map out and plan a course for a 10K run that she was organizing with her local gym. She had a personal marathon record of 3 hours and 1 minute. She was trying to qualify for the 2000 Olympic marathon trials. At the time of her disappearance, she was wearing a yellow tank top, blue and black shorts, Adidas Trail Response sneakers, a Timex Ironman triathlon watch, a wedding band on her left finger. Apparently, she was also wearing contact lenses. Amy was very familiar with this area of the park. She had gone there many times to run, also scout out trips to plan these type of events like this 4K. Here are some more pictures of the actual area. The reason I'm showing you these pictures is because some of the areas are flat, but as you can see, it's also very mountainous. There's a lot of very steep terrain. This is a picture of Amy with her husband and her dog. Some other identifying marks: Amy has scars on both of her shins, as well as her cheeks, and well as on her lower back. Around 4:30 p.m. that day, Stephen Bechtel, he returned home and he was quote-unquote surprised not to see Amy back at the house. He didn't actually report her missing to the police until 10:30 p.m. that night. Based on what he said, it's a little concerning. He said, quote, yeah, hey, I got a person missing here, I think, and I wondered if you had a spare around any place or anything you can do. Due to the oddity of this statement, the police weren't really sure what was going on. The next day, they did find her unlocked white Toyota Tercel wagon, which was found roughly a half a mile away from Frye Lake, which I have some maps up, I'm going to show you, which is supposedly going to be the end of this 10K run that she was planning. This is where the loop road joins with the Burnt Gulch turnoff. Again, I'll have some maps coming up. Unfortunately, there was no sign of Amy. They did find her sunglasses, her list of items that she was going to do. Her car keys were left on the passenger seat. They didn't find her wallet or any IDs. There was no sign of foul play or indication of a struggle, but it was a very confusing sight. Here is a map of Frye Lake. The vehicle, like I said, was found roughly a half a mile away in this junction. This is a picture of the vehicle, not the exact vehicle, but the exact make and model that she was driving and that they found. This next picture is a picture of the junction end area where they ultimately found her vehicle. The initial search effort was started by her husband Steve and a myriad of their friends. They brought in various vehicles they brought in. Most of them had ATVs. Some of them even had specialized dogs, dirt bikes, roughly about 100 volunteers looking for Amy over the next few days. This proved to be ineffective. They still had no clues. There was no sign of Amy anywhere. This is when more investigators got involved in the search. During this initial search, they did find a footprint that they thought was similar to the sneakers that she had been wearing. By the time the police got involved, the footprint had been destroyed and there was no way for them to follow it. Here's a picture, I know it's very grainy because it's so old, of some of the initial investigators going out looking for her. I'm going to have various news articles that I found. I went all the way back from the actual date all the way to the present time. This case has been in the news throughout the years. I think it's important to not only look at Google searches, but look at the actual original newspaper articles, because over time things can get sort of like the game of telephone. Things can get messed up as far as information. They, of course, had helicopters going out. The FBI eventually got involved. They began by questioning the husband because of some of the things that he said. They searched his truck. They didn't find anything specific. The lab results found certain things. Even though he is, whatever you want to say, considered a suspect, nothing ever became of it. The chief of the Fairmont County Sheriff's Office put so much time and effort into this over the years. It's just absolutely incredible, his efforts. A lot of Amy's family members were upset with her husband Steve because he refused to take a polygraph. It's just impossible to say in these cases. You know, people react in all different ways. Unfortunately, though, the authorities, after searching and knowing her abilities, they did start to suspect foul play. Eventually, a $10,000 reward was issued for any information leading to her recovery or information about her whereabouts. The only other thing they really found was a pen that they knew belonged to her. Eventually, this search was a national media sensation. Everybody in the United States and the world was familiar with this case. Her friends and family and everybody that knew her in her running community, they eventually upped the reward to $50,000. According to the sheriff at the time of Fremont County, Sheriff Larry Matthews, he did not want to discount foul play because of their extensive search and finding nothing. Also finding the vehicle in the state that it was, unlocked with the keys on the passenger side seat. This was what her family said was not what she would normally do. This was much out of character for her, even if she was just going for a run or scouting out this 10K running trip, which she was apparently doing that day. Sadly, in many of these cases, rumors get started, the police get tips that are unreliable or they don't know. Because they don't know, they have to track down each and every one of them, which takes an extraordinary amount of time. It can be extremely frustrating. They got lots of tips and leads that just went nowhere. People were just wanting attention or just trying to muck up the investigation. Who knows? But the authorities were getting very frustrated because they have to always track down all these leads, and unfortunately none of them led anywhere. As you can imagine, the family just became more and more desperate and wanting answers. In fact, one of her sisters actually went on the Geraldo Rivera show. Like I said, this was an international case that everyone seemed to be caught up in, yet they still couldn't find any clues or any information that helped. This family has just been absolutely unbelievable in their dogged search for answers. Every year since Amy disappeared, they mustered up people to help go out into the various areas of that national forest in and around Lander, Wyoming. They managed to bring in various people to the police and have them interviewed. They kept the story alive in the media. I'm not here to accuse anybody. I'm just researching and telling you what I found, but it is kind of unbelievable how her husband really didn't want to be involved in the search after the initial beginning. That could just be because he was heartbroken, but based on his actions, it does seem very, very peculiar what he did and what he didn't do. And even the family, as reported in many of the newspaper articles, they were very upset with him for not wanting to be more part of the search and helping to find Amy or finding out what happened to her. 10 years on past her disappearance, her friends and family still go out all the time looking for her. There have been, like I mentioned earlier, there have been random sightings. There was actually a woman in Florida, in the Sarasota area, I believe. I'm going to have the news article right here, that swore that she saw Amy. She contacted the family. She made flyers. This was never confirmed. They did another massive search. At the same time, the Fremont County investigator that had been leading up this investigation quit because I guess he had just enough. He was just so stressed out. He had spent over a decade working on this case, and when these cases take place, people get personally involved, and it is very difficult when you can't bring the family any answers. This case still remains unsolved. Many people are still actively looking for Amy. I want to send my thoughts and prayers out to her and her family. I want to dedicate this video to Amy, her family, her friends, everyone who loved her, all the search and rescue people that have worked so hard to try and bring her home. Even though this case is very old, I know that one day we will find answers, and that's very important. We never want to lose hope. We always want to keep hope, and that's the most important thing. I want to thank you all for watching. As always, I really appreciate all your comments. I know there are a lot of armchair detectives out there, so if you have any information or comments that might help, please let me know. Special thank you to co.ag for providing the background music. Hopefully I will see you all in the next one. Take care. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking with me to the end. I've reviewed this case over and over. In my personal opinion, I think something bad happened. I don't think it was an accident. That's just my personal opinion. As I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments. I know a lot of you are always following these cases, and I appreciate it. I've said this in many other videos. If search and rescue or volunteering or anything like that is something you think you might be interested in, definitely reach out to me, or I'm sure there's local agencies that always are looking for help. That's one thing that people will never turn away, is volunteers, as long as you have some training or at least knowledge and information. We don't want anybody getting lost going out on a search. That would be just even worse than losing the original person or people. In any event, I hope everyone is doing well. If anyone has any questions, please send me an email. My information is always in the description. I'll see everybody in the next one. Take care.